Hey guys, CreamCrazy here. Welcome to my June Q&A video. Now, I know it's July the 1st, 2012, and this makes the title of the video inappropriate by anyone's standard, but the Sunday that I wanted to do this video on happened to fall in the start of July, so bear with me, because that was really not what I planned on doing, but you can expect these kind of things when a calendar does not always go your way. Second of all, I'm not wearing the usual beanie that I wear if my hair goes completely kaput. Mercedes-Benz cap this time. However, I must stress for any F1 fans out there, I am not a Mercedes fan. I'm a Sauber fan, so that's again another thing I have no complete control of. Anyway, got 34 questions here. Really happy with some of these questions I got in. Some of these are really good questions. Some of these are just for the lulz, but I'll answer them anyway because they're funny as hell. No, let's go on with this quickly because I don't want to waste your time talking about random shit. But remember, so put a subscribe button up there if you haven't already. Comment down there on anything you hear in this video, any of my opinions, and if you want to, like my Facebook page in the description box down there, add me on Skype, and because I'm going to do this next month, give me... No, actually, screw that, I'm not doing a Q&A next month, so if you want to do questions and get them together for my August Q&A, which will be the next one, then please send them to me via messaging, or in fact, stick it down there in that comment section, why don't you? Let's get on with this then, shall we? If the sun gets a bit too much, I will have to go off and put the blind on, so yeah. Anyway, first off, Playlist Maker SG asks, what are your thoughts on the themes WWE are using for pay-per-views these days? Well, I think about it this way. The rap songs they used for WrestleMania actually worked. Again, last year, with Tiny Tempers Written in the Stars, it worked then. I feel, however, they've been using a lot more indie songs and a lot more of hard rock songs, which, to be honest, aren't heavy enough for my liking. And I've mentioned it many times before. If a pay-per-view theme song can get you legitimately interested, like it does me sometimes, it's worth it. I mean, Unstoppable by Charm City Devils, which is the No Way Out theme song, was great. Loved it. And I have to say that the pay-per-view was a bit lackluster, but at least the song was good enough to at least be put up on a pedestal, if you get what I mean. That's the thing. For me, the song that is promoting it drives the pay-per-view on the same level the pay-per-view itself does with matches and build-up. Because the song is what will define a pay-per-view in memory, isn't it? So, why not have a song that is immediately recognizable? And you look at WrestleMania X7 and you go, My Way, Limp Bizkit. Everybody remembers it. Highway to Hell is synonymous with SummerSlam 98 for so many people. You think like that. Songs are synonymous with pay-per-views, and if a pay-per-view is good enough, you will find that song becomes synonymous with it as well, and it's just great. Because, again, it exposes me to an artist I wouldn't have known about, so works out fine for me. I just feel they need to make sure that they make the right choices for a pay-per-view theme. And if they do, then I will say, well done to them. If not, then I would just ignore it and not bother. Simple. Mark Tams 909090 asks, what would you change the theme of SmackDown to if you could? Oh, I literally had this in my head. I remember one time I did make a video which on WWE 12 and SmackDown vs. Raw, I had my own theme songs for Raw and SmackDown. The only thing though with this, in fact, actually, I will point out the next question as well because it roughs around the same line with Playlist Maker SG saying, if you could change Raw's theme song to, what would you change it? And I think I wouldn't change them to anything new. You see, a lot of people go on about saying that the old theme songs fit the event and the brand, the show, the best. And you know what? I 100% agree. Because honestly, Raw, to me, is synonymous with Union Underground across the nation. In fact, every time I hear it on my iTunes Shuffle, I immediately think back to when I first started watching Raw, and I thought, it's the one thing that will always keep me alive in music. Again, music links to good things. It links to good things in wrestling. It links to just about everything you can about it. SmackDown is either a hybrid of I Want It All, or the theme that came before it, The Beautiful People. Think about it this way. I'm not an Attitude Era mark. I just like it when a good music and a good theme come together in one place. You get what I'm saying? I just feel these themes fit. And I feel once they are changed, it doesn't fit. Because the Rise Up Drowning Pool theme for SmackDown was bullshit. And most themes for Raw since Junior Underground have been good, but I don't think they're good enough at summing up everything. So, I mean, some people will say Thorn in Your Eye and Altogether Now for Raw in the Attitude Era was the shit. To be honest with you, they're okay, but they're still not my cup of tea. So, I would just look and say, if you're going to make the right choice, I like pay-per-view themes, if you're going to make a choice, you've got to figure if the song fits the programming. And to me, the older songs that were there before fit like a glove, because Know Your Enemy does not fit with SmackDown. Burn It to the Ground is good, but it doesn't fit with Raw. I honestly can't think of anything off the top of my head to fill those shoes apart from the ones that have already been. Because honestly, they made that one creative choice, and it worked, didn't it? Nice. On the subject of songs, MJ from the British Fist asked me this last night on Skype. He asked, what are your 5 favourite and your 5 most hated wrestler theme songs? Now, I had to actually make this list up. He kind of dared me saying, think it up on the spot now, which was a joke. But knowing me and my ability to take things literally on a lot of occasions, I thought them up on the spot. Now, I'm going to start off with my worst and then go to my best. How about that? Now, you might be a bit surprised by some of these, NJ, and just about anyone else out there. Just to tell you guys that. Right, first, number 5 on my worst list would be the American Dream Dusty Rhodes WWE theme song. Simply because, despite the intro being great, and Dusty Rhodes being great as well, the lyrics and the song just makes me cringe because they're very cheesy, very meh lyrics, and I've never been sure about the song. It just wasn't a very nice song to listen to, which isn't good for me, because if you listen, you personify a person with a character, and it doesn't really blend with the American Dream's toughness as well as his verbal dexterity. Because I've got a female vocalist singing there, it just won't work. Number 4. On the worst is Pomp and Circumstance, Randy Savage's theme song. Now, no matter how good Savage was, I never thought the theme fit. And of course, it made him stand out, but at the same time, I don't like classical music much. In fact, the only classical themed piece of wrestler theme music I like is Fight the Valkyries. Mostly because it's Bryan Danielson's, and because I listen to it over and over again on Saints Row the Third due to that. So, I always thought Pomp and Circumstance is just really traditional American patriotic bullshit. Then again, I think it was made because of that. I don't know. It's something to do. It's like when I heard Hail to the Chief on WrestleMania 10's broadcast. I go, ugh, here we go. Here's some more cheese factor. Ugh, it's not good enough. Number 3, Real American. You know what it is, I don't even need to say whose it is. Because no matter how big it was and how significant it was in making the theme song in wrestling, I just think that it gets you singing along, but I just don't like it. Because one, it's associated with Hogan, and second, again, it just screams the cheese factor, but on an even bigger level than the 2 I've already mentioned. And that's bad. The cheese factor is where these come for. But then again, Hogan was better with Voodoo Child's Slight Return anyway. I think everybody even he was better with Rockhouse, the NWO theme. Everybody could admit he was better with everything that wasn't the Real American theme. I mean, sure, it is still voted the greatest theme of all time by many a people, but personally, I just don't like it. Simple as. Number 2, Jeff Jarrett's first WWE theme when he had that country singer gimmick in the mid-90s. I had the WWE Anthology box set, and I've watched some of Jeff Jarrett's old matches back. The fact is, that song not only reeked of cheese, it not only reeked of bullshit, it reeked of just about everything that you could possibly hate Jeff Jarrett for. Because I think he sang the theme himself. That again sums it up right there. It's grating on the ears, and the lyrics are so bad, it makes you want to punch whatever the hell you're listening to on it, whether it be the TV, your laptop, or the stereo. So, I hate it. I hate it so much, I want to punch something. That's my usual thing if I want to hate something, but yeah. Number 1, And the number one theme that I hate the most was exemplified by me watching WrestleMania 10 back. Because I hate the character in general. I hate everything to do with him. Gimmick, character, wrestler. Okay, the wrestler who portrayed him was an okay wrestler. But the theme song makes me want to puke. So corny, so rubbish. It fits with the character, but to me, it's not supposed to be. The character shouldn't have even been there. And you know what it is, based on my reaction? Doink the Clown. Because that... I've already mentioned it already. The theme sucked ass. The wrestling gimmick sucked ass. And therefore, if you combine them together, you create a gigantic huge ball of shit. Which worked out pretty well. Haha. Now on to my 5 best, MJ. Number 5. Metalingus. Edge's 2004-2011 theme. Now, I love his You Know Me theme song, which he originally had when he was with Christian, and in his small solo bit before Rob Zombie took over. But the fact is, personally, this got me into Alter Bridge, so I will always love it. I will always love this song, because I've heard it live 3 times. I have rocked out to it on many occasions. It is a fantastic song, and it fits Edge perfectly, because you can sing along to it, you can go mental. It's a great song. Embodies everything. Number 4, Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme. Glass shattering, gets your attention immediately. It's effective and simple. Guitar riff, heavy bass, it works out. It literally is that simple. That's where sometimes I look at WWE themes and I say, nowadays you don't need lyrics. You just need a catchy hook and something that will make you know that's the wrestler I'm thinking of. That's the wrestler I want to see. Because the theme speaks for itself without having to even have any lyrics in it. Simple. Number 3, the combination... I'm having to put 2 together here. The Game and My Time, both of Triple H's theme songs between 2000 and now. Because honestly, they fit Triple H like a glove. And they're some of the only WWE theme songs I can listen to on their own and appreciate them as actually good songs. Simple. Because that's the thing. I always rate a good theme song for me on not only if it fits with the character, but also if I can listen to it in my own home, on my stereo, on my iTunes Shuffle, if I stick it in a car or something like that. I want to say, look, I can listen to this and I won't be too pissed. Simple. And that's fun about it, you know? Number 2, Cult of Personality. It was an awesome song anyway. I loved the song for years, and I love the fact that Punk has it associated with him. It's even better because of that. Because I know, yeah, keeps me interested, and it's fun as hell. Seriously, the guitar solo, one of the best of all time, and actually, guys, if you haven't listened to the entire Vivid album where that comes from, I advise do it. That album is a piece of gold. A very underrated album. And number 1, I listen to this, and I get shivers up my spine each time. It's a fantastic theme. Because it fit, it fit the character like a glove, and actually is a little bit terrifying. Kane's first WWE theme. Simply amazing. It did its job and more. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's one of the greatest WWE themes of all time. Simple as. Simple as, people. It embodies the character, has fantastic tempo to make you feel, and then the sound all amalgamates together. You just feel a bit terrified. That's what's so good about it. It fits with the character, but I can listen to it and go, yeah. Oh, so good. I can just feel happy listening to it, despite its dark connotations. You know what I mean? Oh, it's great. Thanks, NJ, for that good question. Awesome Truth 998. Now, your grammar was a bit jumbled and I couldn't understand what you were trying to say to me. So if this is not exactly what your question stated, then please apologize. I tried to do the best I could with that. Do you think WWE's guidelines of not letting people from outside the US watch full clips or full shows on their YouTube or some other YouTube videos fair? Is that policy fair? No. I'll say it again like I say multiple other times. If you are World Wrestling Entertainment, 3 things, especially one of them being the word world in there, when sure your US and Canadian fan base are a significant chunk, but when your international fan base means a lot, if you try and giving live shows to some countries, you give get in wrestlers from other countries to be in your fed, you gotta give them the videos of the stuff. Because, for example, I will agree with this. I want to watch a full episode of SmackDown on their YouTube channel when I've missed it. Because when SmackDown repeats in this country, it repeats at a time where I literally can't find it. Therefore, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? To watch SmackDown or Raw unedited in its full glory with no advert. Well, I'll say with some adverts. Would that be fun? Yes, I want to watch that. But I can't because I'm not from the United States. Oh, honestly. The thing is, okay, licensing is a major issue, and if Funimation have an issue, that, okay, an anime is licensed in the UK, the DVD is out! Yet you can't put it on your YouTube channel after that has happened. You've got the video there for your American audience, but then, immediately when it comes to here, the shores of this country, it just never seems to happen. You never change it to say, look, it's here now, you can view the trailer, you can view a full episode or two. Why is that such a big deal? Why is licensing to countries like here such a big deal? It isn't fair that we're being denied the freedom to watch these videos, and actually will give us incentive not only buy into the product, but to make us say and recommend it on to other people. Because I will be able to say, if I watch something good on Raw that I've seen on YouTube, if I see a good piece of music that I've seen on YouTube, I can go, yeah, listen to this. If I see a good wrestling clip, I will say, go watch this shit. If I watch something on an indie fed that I love, I would say, go this. But with WWE, if you find something good, you know you can spread it so easily because people video record it. They're trying to say, look, you can't video record what we put on TV because you should have been there in the first place. Fact is, that isn't how it works. You have to bloody well let things happen. Because honestly, not everyone has access to AM Raw in America if they've missed it. So they wouldn't be able to get their own repeats. So just... in the UK, we have the bottom line and Afterburn, which are on at stupidly late times. We can't watch recaps of Raw and SmackDown a lot. Okay, Raw's on at 9 o'clock on a Thursday evening. That's easy. SmackDown, I don't know when it repeats. Honestly, give other countries what they want from YouTube with your videos, and we'll all be happy. Okay, sure, the pay-per-views will not be easily done, but at least give us a highlight package to show us what we may have missed. Right? Cool. Raylot2 asks, how do you feel Ric Flair's departure will affect TNA? I feel, because it's tied up in the lawsuit, that this would be quite damaging. Because you think about it, WWE's got a gigantic legal team. They have immense power. They would not be able to, TNA would not be able to overpower WWE in the legal department. I would say this. Ric Flair's departure on a fiscal level may not help them because of that. But also, he's one of the biggest names wrestling has to offer. And to be honest with you, TNA has got a few of them. Sting, Angle, AJ Styles, RVD for a small part. They are big names which will sell the company to you. Even when they had actually I'd say even Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan. When you look at all that together, you say, ooh, they've got some people I want to see. But Ric Flair, he's the wrestling fan's wrestler to many people. And I feel, okay, sure, he may be run down, his personal life may be aired out there, but he is still a name that draws. Because honestly, when he came back to WWE, or WWF when it was, back in 2001 after Survivor Series, when the Invasion storyline was dead and buried, it was huge. People gave a shit because Ric Flair was back in a WWE ring for the first time in 9 years at that point. When Ric Flair is there, it gives the product legitimacy. And I feel TNA will... okay, it's got a lot of legitimate wrestling names there. But when you lose Ric Flair, you lose a piece of legitimacy, a big, sizable chunk of it. And a lot of people, while you'll say, okay, Angle, RVD, Sting, Hogan, Bischoff, they're all there, we can be happy that we still have them there for the ability of building TNA's star power. The fact is, you've got to build homegrown star power before using them. They haven't done that anyway. So I would say that it would just on the impact of, well, impact. When you haven't got a name on the billing like Flair, it will limit your ability to appeal to a certain type of fan, and that will lose you viewers. So I don't think it would affect the product too much. but it will definitely lose you some ground. Definitely lose TNA some ground. On the same subject of Ric Flair, Sean Mortimer asks, do you think Ric Flair will be at the 1000th episode of Raw? Now, his contract, obviously, with TNA has now been terminated. You would say, yes, he would be here for the 1000th episode of Raw, which I will say right now I'm going to miss because I'm going to be on a plane flight to Australia on the day. Yay, whoop-de-doo! That didn't work out very well for me in the planning stage, but then again, I will hopefully be able to watch it when I get to Australia, because I think the programs are delayed by a couple of days, so I should be able to watch it. Nonetheless, again, it's all to do with that lawsuit that WWE and TNA have on, because apparently Ric Flair's contract is in the middle of that. Now, if you think about it, the more this goes on, he won't be able to be let out of the contract, which will mean that he won't be able to be at that Raw without breaching the team terms of it, and then TNA having to go on a rebuttal to try and earn back anything they could have gotten from losing that. So, you see, I don't think it's plausible. It's rumoured to every single level. I've seen rumours everywhere saying Ric Flair's going to appear on the 1000th Raw and do something massive, or he's going to be named the next GM. Honestly, I won't believe it because of this situation with this lawsuit. If he's involved in it, I don't know where I'm going to say he's going to be there or not. I'll just have to watch it and see, because on that plane, I won't be able to access spoiler sites, so I will be in the dark until I see it. What do you say about that? I think if he is going to be there, he'll be the new GM. If not, then I have no idea. I have no idea if he's going to return or not. It's just whether this contract involvement in this lawsuit diffuses quickly enough for them to do it. Because we've only got, what, 3 weeks now? Wow, 3 weeks before I go to Australia. Lucky me. But, yeah, just simply we have to wait and see about it. Rico3. Now I'm going to link 2 questions of yours here because they link to one man, Iron Mike Tyson. How do you feel about Mike Tyson being the pre-order bonus for WWE 13? I was going to do this in a future vid, so thank you put this in here earlier. I get to get it out of the way. This has enraged many people. I think to a lot of people, they would be enraged because they say, oh, guys like the Usos or Tyson Kidd or someone else should be in place of a non-wrestler. But honestly, I have said this multiple times before in my vids, Hall of Fame vids, celebrities. Whenever I talk about them, one name is always given high praise. Mike Tyson. Because this is an Attitude Era game. Without him siding with DX, getting in a brawl with Stone Cold Steve Austin in the middle of that ring in January 1998, if it wasn't for Austin punching Michaels' face out at WrestleMania 14, along with the added publicity that gained, the Attitude Era would not have skyrocketed to where it was. He is an absolutely essential part to the building of the Attitude Era, and if you do not include him, then that is a crime against the era you're trying to build. Now, he's obviously wearing a DX t-shirt, because obviously he did side with DX, and as you are putting a mostly full-body DX together, you will need it. You will need Mike Tyson in there, because it's part of DX's history, isn't he? Okay, there's no Rick Rude, but at the same time, think about it, it works. I feel this is a great inclusion because actually, he's the only legitimate celebrity I gave a shit about in WWE programming. Seriously. Well, apart from Mark Cuban, who, to be honest with you, put more enthusiasm about the product when he was in the ring than anyone. He could basically be a GM based on his own charisma alone. But you see, Mike Tyson in this video game, in this specific time period that they're focusing on, this works and fits like an absolute glove. It fits perfectly. And those people who are very negative about this should just shut the hell up. Because I would love to use Mike Tyson in some storylines I've got booked in my head for WWE 13. I have a load of ideas I'd like to use Mike Tyson for, including a reformed DX and a load of other things. He could be an enforcer role that I currently use Kevin Nash for in WWE 12. WWE 13 has this great great extra enigma that will gain a lot of extra fans, because I tell you now, a lot of people want to see Mike Tyson in there, me included. When I heard he was in it, I was happy. I wasn't disappointed. I was happy. A lot of people may disagree, but that's just how it goes, right? On the other subject of Mike Tyson, if Mike Tyson and Stone Cold Steve Austin had a match in their prime, how do you think it would turn out? Right. Now, I'm obviously going to mention here that Mike Tyson is a boxer. Stone Cold, the toughest SOB. Now, that may be a nickname, but when you look at the brawling style of Stone Cold, there are a lot of strikes, not too many grapples. You would think that in his prime, this would be a decent idea. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm amazed they never went with it. Because WWE nowadays would have gone with that. They would have gone at WrestleMania 14, instead of sticking Stone Cold with an injured but willing to fight on Shawn Michaels, they would have put Stone Cold in a match with Mike Tyson, because the money factor would make the WWE's purse pockets burst. They would have money all over the place if they booked it back then. I feel the match would actually be very easy to decipher, because no matter how hard Stone Cold can throw a punch, and no matter how tough he is, Mike Tyson has a reputation for being one of the roughest boxers to ever go in the ring. Think about it. If in matches he can punch someone in the face and knock them clean out, not like Big Show does with his WMD, but actually full-blown punching them, he can knock someone clean out. That takes more of a skill in the fact that he can actually do it with one solid punch. That means Stone Cold, even though he is the tough guy that he is, would not stand a single chance in hell. So I would say Mike Tyson would win easily. However, knowing Stone Cold, he would, if it was a wrestling match, however, not a boxing match, or if it was a brawl for all mixed with a wrestling match kind of thing, you'd then be able to see both of them using their styles equally. But at the same time, I would still say Tyson would win, because he'd be able to punch Austin's lights out no matter what happens. I'm not a boxing fan, that's just coming from what I've seen generally of Tyson's work. But you think it's possible he would have done it. Seriously, he would have loved to have done that kind of thing. Nintendo Fanboy 1988 now asks, what do you think of Stacy Keibler? Do you think she's hot? Did you like her? And will she ever come back to the WWE or wrestling in general? Okay, this is 4 questions sandwiched into one. I will answer this, and shortly after I have a quick drink of water, because my throat is starting to get a bit dry after half an hour. Wow, it's taken me a while before having a first sip of water. That's impressive for me. That's nice. Oh, my trousers are also falling down. Not good for... Thank God this video will not expose anything. Right. Stacy Keibler. The legs to die for, because honestly it's the first thing you fucking look at apart from her face. She, as an in-ring worker, as a wrestler, as a diva, was okay. Very limited though. She was more eye candy. But in the one case of where eye candy works, it did. Then again, I've always said I rarely found many of the divas hot in any way or form. She, however, was one of those notable exceptions, because you look at her face, you think, that's a picture-perfect face. Nothing literally wrong with it, and a smile that can kill. You then look at the legs and think, okay, for a person like me, who is 5'2" or 5'3", you'd wonder, they're about, what, 41-inch legs, or that was a hyperbolized statement. They're quite massive, I'll just put that out there in terms of length. She would overpower you in stages of height, and they are impressive to look at, I will sense that. Did I like her? Like I said, I've already mentioned as a wrestler and on a hot factor, I've already mentioned, I do kind of like her. She's not too bad. Will she ever come back? Now, this is quite tough to answer, because she has said multiple times she would move on, but she's also mentioned she wouldn't mind it. The fact is, if she came back with Clooney attached, just imagine the star power. Basically like what Mike Tyson gave at the beginning of the Attitude Era. You imagine the amount of publicity WWE would get for that. You imagine the publicity. Because that would be megabucks for WrestleMania. One great iconic diva, well, in wrestling terms not very, but in an eye candy sense, much like Sunny was. You imagine how much publicity that giving her with Clooney in a power couple position in terms of a social media envoy for WWE, because she's a former person in it, and also having this major figure on her side, that could be huge. That could be absolutely huge. That could be the biggest thing that you could possibly put there. And honestly, if she does, I think WWE would throw money at her to bring Clooney along with her. But I don't think she will. I think she's obviously doing acting now. She's being in the publicity using with George Clooney to put issues out there. It's obviously, I don't think she will come back. She's had her time in wrestling, because the last thing I remember her doing, she was she was Super Stacy with the Hurricane and Rosie. Now, I don't want her, my last memory of her in wrestling to be that. But then again, that's what you're sometimes left with, aren't you? Last thing people remember of Rick Rude, when he was last actively in WWE, or WWF, was the manager of DX. Now, not much came from that, but you think about it. That was literally all there was, really, wasn't there? Awesome Truth 998. Another question from you here. Besides Johnny Ace, who do you want to punch in the face the most? But I think I wouldn't punch Johnny Ace in the face. I wouldn't punch Johnny Ace in the face. Never. Up to you if you want to punch him in the face. Your opinion. 1. Hulk Hogan. Because his bones in his face would break just as fast as my hand would. Because I am very weak in terms of bone structure, despite drinking a lot of milk as a child. In fact, until age 13, it was all I drank. You think about it that way. I would break my hand as quickly as I would probably punch him and break his jaw. Okay, my punch is not very strong, but in a fit of anger, I could punch just about anything and it would work. I don't like Hulk Hogan. You know why. I've mentioned it in a previous video why I don't like him. Simple. I would punch him in the face, no problem. Who else would I want to punch? Oh, actually, no, there's one guy I would punch more than him. One guy I would punch more simply because I have hated this guy ever since I've stepped into wrestling, on screen and off. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. You all know why. I don't need to go into it. Speaking of Vince McMahon, this is interesting. Mark Terms 909090 asked another question. Speaking of McMahon, if you were able to say something to Vince McMahon, what would you say? Now, I've learnt from watching his on-screen character, his off-screen character, the accounts people have had about Vince, that he's kind of a bipolar guy, where he is a guy who is quite warm and passionate about his product. He is professionally passionate about it. He's a warm person when not in the business in terms. Outside, he's a very warm, caring person. But inside, he's also very, very driven to get what he wants. He's very, very, actually quite angry, quite bitter, and very, very in your face. Now, if I was to say anything to him, I'd say two things. 1, I know you made this company, but honestly, look at some of the... You say what is best for this company. Because you made it, you built it, everything. However, look at the decisions you've recently made. For instance, not mentioning names of certain towns and cities when you go there because you don't consider them big league. Not caring where logic of a storyline goes just because apparently you don't forget, just because apparently you will forget, the fans will as well. And other storylines like Katie Vick, Hot Lesbian Action, these both from 2002, mind you, and other things. You gotta wonder, Vince, should you really be involved with the creative process when a lot of what you coming up with lacks basic foundation to be made into success? Because, to be painfully honest, Vince, when I look at some of the things you've done, yeah, I can praise you. But at the same time, you are running out of steam. Could you just call it... Sure, you can be at the head of the company as the chairman, but you don't need to be involved in a level where other people who you pay money for can do their jobs. Just sit back, just lie back. Enjoy the time you have with your grandchildren. Because the amount of stress you put on yourself, you could have a heart attack. That's one thing I would also say. The second thing I would also say is quite simply, bluntly, to his face, could I have a job? Because I would believe on a creative standpoint, if I say what I've already just said to him about his creative decline, I would then say, can I fill part of your shoes? Because I have ideas you couldn't even come up with. Okay, some of these ideas are flawed. Sometimes it may take me a bit of time. Working in teams as a person with Asperger's or in social stigmata may not work when ideas do conflict. But then again, as a wrestling fan through and through, I would love to take part. So yeah, 2 things I would say to Vince McMahon if I ever had the chance. Simple. And I think on both of those issues, he would basically get in my face, tell me to leave, and get the big security guy to throw me out the door. And I would probably be barred from ever entering Titan Towers again. Simple, really, isn't it? I would probably get banned from there. Simple as. Elizabeth 1990 asks, during the Attitude Era in 1998, if Rock and Austin had gone to WCW, how would WWE have been after that? Now, this is quite a massive question when you really think about the what-if scenario here. Because with Stone Cold Steve Austin in 1998, he was a massive name at this point. If he had jumped ship, WWE would have literally melted down. Because they would have had no star power to compete with WCW at that point. The second point with The Rock, though, is that in 1998, The Rock character was really starting to become into its own. In fact, it was only in 1999 where it really became a big draw. Because the fact is, he was in a feud with Triple H in that time, in 1998. In fact, to be honest with you, it links up with Stone Cold. If these guys had left, Rock and Austin, would they have to push Triple H earlier than they were planning on to? Because it was the slow build of Triple H's rise to the top that has made him such a big name today. Because without that, he wouldn't have had the staying power through that time. And if they built him up at the snap of a finger, it wouldn't have worked the same way. So, I think that Austin would have been a bigger loss. But WWE would have literally been in a crisis point where they've lost their one big talent that kept everything going, and the other talent that was back up to that. That would have been catastrophic. It would have been a serious problem because they had overcome the financial problems that had dogged them the last 2 or 3 years beforehand. They then recover their losses and then lose it all again. That isn't good. And honestly, that would have happened. That would have happened if this occurred. Simple. Cancerous mic work. This is a good question here. These comparison questions between wrestlers are very common now in my Q&As. Andre the Giant from the late 70s and early 80s versus the Big Show from today. Would the fans like it or not? Another drink of water. It's very funny. Every time I have one drink of water, I always get parched for thirst next time. I don't know why that happens. I drink apple juice, and I suddenly feel more thirsty after drinking it than I would drinking it. Anyway, of course, when we look at Andre the Giant, you've got to think about it this way. Andre the Giant, from the 70s to the early 80s, the guy was a powerhouse. In the ring, agile as hell. And to be honest, when his physical condition hadn't dogged him, he could wrestle just about anybody and dominate. Big Show from today, all powerful, the all singing, all dancing crap of the WWE when he's everywhere and you wish he wasn't. Big Show is a decent in-ring worker, but he is very slow. Okay, psychology-wise, Big Show can sell like not many others could. I don't know how the fans will react, though, because the comparisons between the two have always been there. I think on a dream match scenario, it would be a big selling point. People would go, okay, 2 of the biggest giants in WWE history, in terms of size, drawing, and everything else. And in terms of name power, too. They would love to see it. But I don't think they'd actually want to see the match. I think in hype, they would kill to see it. They would want it. They'd say, yes, gotta see this. It's kind of like a Lesnar Goldberg scenario, where the build was fantastic and made you want to see it, but then when it happened, it turned to shit. I think that's what would happen. That's what would happen, people. Because the fans would say, yes, come on, give me this dream match. But then the hype would never live up to the scenario and they'd just rip it to shreds afterwards. wouldn't they? I mean, honestly, if you don't think that's what's going to happen, that's a bit stupid, in all fairness. But, yeah, what do you guys think? Comment section. Nintendo Fanboy 1988 asks, does Sheamus look like Test? If you're talking about the 2006-2007 invasion of Test, yes, 100% it looks like Test. Well, actually, no, 2003 Test as well looked like this. Honestly, they look very, very similar. Very, very similar. Handlebar, goatee, beard, moustaches, spiked up hair. Yeah, and also quite chiseled physique. It looks quite similar, doesn't it? It's true. It's damn true. But the fact is, that's all the comparisons like, because before that, Test was long-haired. Yeah. That's the thing. Sheamus and Test do look alike. Simple. MSDC Punk. Hey, good on you. You still around? Because you give me the Q&A messages. Are you still making vids? I hope you do, mate, because you made some good vids. Do you think Sheamus being Irish will hold him back from being an all-time WWE legend? If so, do you think the WWE is still reluctant to have non-US or Canadian wrestlers as their poster boys? Now, I have to say, this is particularly massive in the case of the British Bulldog, because the popularity for that guy, here and overseas, was huge. The British Bulldog was a big name. They didn't want to have him on the top because they never felt he had the ability to draw, when in fact he drew a lot of people. Then again, he wasn't the best guy on the mic for all due purposes. I mean, actually, to be honest, I was amazed they didn't push him in 1995 after giving him the nearly giving him the Rumble win. Because we had Shawn Michaels, we had Diesel. You could have given Bulldog a chance. I think they're reluctant because I actually fit this into a storyline I did on WWE 12, in fact, where you've got a guy, Americans are very patriotic about their own kind. If they see someone else, say mostly a British guy, or an Australian, or a Chinese Russian guy, or some form of other guy from a different country, a Brazilian even, in most other sports, you see a foreign guy, you will embrace it. You will love an extra different ingredient that they give. Wrestling fans love this, because you give in Mexican wrestlers and Japanese wrestlers have high flying attributes. You bring in most of the Canadian wrestlers I've seen have great technical abilities. You bring British wrestlers in, have a hard-nosed, brute rolling style, but also are very technically proficient. That brings in all kinds of different stuff to contrast with the big, muscular, couple-of-move American guys who you sometimes see, who will embody some of those wrestling styles based on how they generally are influenced. But honestly, they just don't like it because this is an American company. They don't want to have someone who's non-American being the poster boy. Which explains why, when Alberto Del Rio was WWE champion, you still had guys like Cena, Orton, and Punk holding the flag up. Because no one gave it, because WWE didn't want you to give a shit. I mean, the fact is that, yeah, my storyline idea for WWE 12 was, I had an Italian guy. But then again, they did have Bruno Sammartino, an Italian-American, technically, because he was born in Italy, came to America. He was the top guy in their promotion. Think about it then. Times have changed. Andre the Giant, French guy. Times have changed. Where they're very protective, because in my storyline idea, an Italian wrestler had fought his way up, and over the years had made a steady following, became the number one contender for the championship. He then, Montreal Screwjob style, was screwed by Vince McMahon, saying, look, okay, I made up the idea that a national tragedy had happened. A big national tragedy had happened. And they were saying at the time, a guy like Hulk Hogan, or Lex Luger, or Kurt Angle, or Jack Swagger, a guy who would embody on their self American values, American staples, or Cena in that fact, American values, and that's shit. And he would say, look, I'm sorry here, but he's keeping these fans instead, they're keeping the patriotism alive in my company, I'm not giving it to you. And the fact is, he would say that anyone who isn't American would not be able to feel that and give that to the people, and therefore he screwed the guy out of the match. They don't want to include them as poster boys because they simply are just foreign entities to them. And that's really sad, because if immigration built USA from nothing, because we were the ones who fucking colonized it first. Fact is, That's how it all works. You can't have American and Canadian guys dominating your head, because you've got to acknowledge the world outside. Will it hold Sheamus back? No, because honestly, British Bulldog has a legacy. He built one because he was a bloody good wrestler. Sheamus is a good wrestler as well. He is probably one of the biggest names of this modern era. He's building himself up slowly, but he's getting there. I feel it will not hold him back. It will not hold him back at all. You can imagine if he ever does get to a Hall of Fame ceremony induction, which I think he will get at some point in about 20, 30 years, he would be able to fulfill the Irish stereotypes for one night, get absolutely pissed and do what he wants to do, because he would have earned it. That's the thing. Foreign stars in WWE need to build themselves up a lot to be able to reach where Sheamus is. And if they do that, then that'll be fine. They can get there. It's a good thing that WWE is signing in other people from other countries, because honestly, we need to get foreign exposure in a US company to make everything seem right. Eh? Okay, number there. Largest 85. What did you think of the Razor Ramon character that Scott Hall used in the early 90s? And how would Razor from then mix with Del Rio from now? Right. Now, I, of course, did not watch a lot of Razor Ramon. I mean, the cocky son of a bitch that Razor Ramon was. The toothpick in his mouth, the suave facial expressions and exterior. You kind of made it off that he was a badass, but not in... He was a badass, but not directly in your face about it. It was very subtle. The mic work he did under that gimmick was very stellar. Very good stuff. It made you think, wow, this guy's a badass. But at the same time, it made you think, he could beat me up. I don't want to cross anything wrong with the guy. Wrestling-wise, Scott Hall under that gimmick fit well too. The guy, actually at the time, before drugs and alcohol pushed him over the edge, was good stuff. He was a power wrestler who knew how to use some form of agility to help him there. Because he was I would say, a heavyweight, but slightly on the light heavyweight side. At the 245, 250 pound mark, would have worked out one other way. The fact is, I don't understand the second part of this question. Would Razor from then mix with Del Rio from now? I don't understand that. I don't know what it means. On character, wrestling, feud. I don't know what this would fit into. So I unfortunately can't answer this question, I'm afraid. It's part of the question anyway. Sorry about that. Real Spider-Man Noir fan asks, what are your thoughts on Rikishi and him as Fatu of the Head Shrinkers in the early 90s? I actually can't remember the Head Shrinkers. I tried looking them up beforehand, before I got to this. But honestly, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Rikishi in general, though. Rikishi in general is a guy who, to be honest, I felt was a good wrestling talent, but then again, for character, I always felt he was lacking something. I mean, sure, he had that, I did it for The Rock, bad man persona at the end of the 2000s, and he also was dancing around like an absolute lunatic with Too Cool, but on the character standpoint, I don't really see where I could have given a shit. I thought, sure, he had a stink face and a few powerful kicks, but he was quite limited character and wrestling-wise, and yeah, it just, to me, I never really thought much of him, to be honest with you. I mean, sure, it's okay to watch with Too Cool, because the music was fun as shit, but honestly, I never really thought much of the guy in general. MSDC Punk, your next question. Take 3. Oh, but actually, before I shout this out, more water. I better not finish this all because I've got a lot more questions to get through here. Take 3 current WWE wrestlers and give them a golden era type gimmick. Like in your examples here, Brutus the Barber Beefcake or Honky Tonk Man. Do you think this would help them as superstars? Now, the one thing that I must point out, if a lot of people don't realise this, is that in the 80s, the golden era of wrestling, is that the gimmicks were personified to oblivion. The gimmick was what made you as a wrestler. Roddy Piper, pissed off Scotsman. Bruce Barber Beefcake, a guy, a bit of a psycho who likes to cut people's hair. Honky Tonk Man, Elvis impersonator who is just as cocky as the voice stated. Who would I give in this position? David Otunga, I would give some kind of Adrian Adonis type thing, or Gorgeous George type thing, because it's not gorgeous, it's not golden era, but it works nonetheless in describing the character. Not the flamboyant gay guy, but the fact is the guy is chiseled out of stone. Chris Masters rip-off in this case of Otunga, but you think about it. You would want to say he would be flamboyant and say, look at me. I am the shit. I am the guy who is chiseled out of stone. I'm better than basically a ravishing Rick Rude nearly, actually. He has the flamboyance of Adrian Adonis. But the vanity, look at me, I'm a sexy beast, Rick Rude era. He's ravish. It would be ravishing, and the women would go, yeah, I'd bang that. Don't know if they would bang that, but then again, that's what I'd say. Who else would I give a gimmick to? I should have thought this over before I fucking started, shouldn't I? Oh, I shouldn't I shouldn't link them to past wrestlers. I should think of something fucking original. Fuck. Usually I put time preparation into these, but I don't on this occasion. Sorry, man, I can't think right now. It's been a long, tiresome day, and I can't think of anything at the minute. I may have to re-answer this another time when I've had a bit more time to think. So, if you want to hear anything else, I'll give it a think tonight while eating dinner and watching the football. I'll see if I can think of any more, but if I can't, then I'm sorry. Then that's just I'm sorry about that. I really am. Cancerous mic work. Your next question. Now, you mentioned this. I know this won't happen. But what if you were watching the Royal Rumble, and the 30th entrant was none other than Eddie Guerrero, Latino Heat? How would you react to this? I'd be stunned. I would be stunned because, oh, he played us again. It would just be the, you know what? I say I died, but I lied, but he would be the happiest person to ever say he'd faked his own death, wouldn't he? It would be shocking, because everyone will go, holy shit, more than any other time in history, when you put it in that context. It would be great. I would say, hey, could you go back into hell and bring back Benoit with you? I would, yeah. See, I even used it in a negative context, because you all would in the same fashion, wouldn't you? Next up, Nintendo Fanboy 988. I believe this is your last question. I'm just going to scroll through to prove it. Yes, it is your last question. Give me some good questions today. A 1 hour Iron Man match between Daniel Bryan and Chris Benoit. Good or not? What are those 3 words? Those 3 single-syllable words that I'm looking for to describe this, related to one of the wrestlers in question. Yes! 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 I would pay every single piece of money that I have to watch that match. A technical wrestling psychology masterpiece. Because we know Benoit sells and also works on body parts like no one. I would say this, not many other wrestlers I have known. In fact, watch the Judgment Day 2000 submission match between him and Jericho to see my point. The review I made should substantiate it. But Bryan as well. We've shown this in the match at Extreme Rules. He can do the same, and in most matches he does work a body part. The fact is, that'll be fun. It's much like Lesnar and Angle, 2 great technical wrestlers who I believe would have had great chemistry going at each other for 60 minutes in a match which would keep me occupied. Okay, they would need to put some storyline, sports entertainment bit to make it more exciting for the non-wrestling psychology-driven viewers, but it would work, and I would absolutely love it. Because but then again, it's like how Punk and Bryan stood out over the limit. That in the midst of all the sports entertainment bullshit, we saw a fantastically well wrestled match, and the crowd were loving it. That's how it would fit. That's how it would feel. That's how good it would be. It would be the shining light in a diamond. It would be the most perfect thing. Really, it would be. All you'd need to do is stick CM Punk in there, and probably Bret Hart and Kurt Angle, and you'd have one of the best matches of all time. In an elimination style match, that would be even better, wouldn't it? Real Spider-Man Noir fan, your next question. Vladimir Kozlov versus Tensai. Would you pay to watch it? No. Move on. Because the less said about that, the better, I believe. Rico 3. If you could put together a 6-man Monsters Brawl match, who would be in it? Now, I had to remember this because I have the TNA Best of Bloodiest Brawls DVD. The only TNA I own. Because they, at the time, in 2005, 2006, they did bloody matches like WWE could dream of at that time. But nonetheless, bollocks, I literally can't remember what the Monsters Brawl match was. I know it included a lot of weapons. It wasn't a Raven's House of Fun match because that had a chain link fence with weapons on it at the ringside apron. Was it in a cage? Just rows of weapons? I think that was it. If not, I'll have to do some research, and I apologise for that. You then have to think, who are the sickest, most violent, hardcore people you could ever stick in a match like this? Because that's the kind of thing you get from it. No, yeah, it was a cylindrical dome. Yeah, I think I've remembered it now. I'd love to see him. I could basically say Foley, because you could stick Mick Foley in any hardcore match, and he'd fit in like a guy in a crowd who just mopes around. No one will notice him, but he's still there. He would fit there, and he'd just be synonymous with it. I would say Christopher Daniels, because that guy, despite being a great technical wrestler, has a mean streak. He doesn't show it like Samoa Joe, but at the same time, I would pay to see him in it. Big Show. You need a giant in a match like that to provide contrast. Oh, there's another guy out of my head. Well, I've already mentioned Samoa Joe. Why not stick him in there? Sabu, because he's a crazy fucktard. And then finally, by God, finally... because he likes going into a few violent matches and isn't willing to injure himself for the benefit of the good, Shane McMahon. Because he would do all kinds of crazy shit. Hope you're happy with that. Mark Tams 1990, your last question, and this one is a very difficult one to answer. Which would you rather do? Fire CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, or have CM Punk lose the WWE Championship on Raw to Hornswoggle? Legitimately. You have to add legitimately there, just to make it even harder to choose. Now, you must note, I would not do either. But if I had to do one, it would be firing Punk and Bryan, because, honestly, Hornswoggle winning the title clean against one of the best wrestlers in the world, you imagine how bad that would be for not just my viewership, but for everyone else. That would be the most awful thing in the history of mankind. It would make Arquette winning the WCW title look like a pile of horse shit. Yeah, you heard me say it. It would be complete horse shit. Honestly, it would be the worst. If any time you ever needed to see wrestle crap and say, what is the worst moment in the history of wrestling, you could then say that would be one of them. In fact, that could be the worst moment in history. I mean, sure, Heroes of Wrestling 99 is probably the worst. Honestly, because it is the worst pay-per-view ever, therefore it's the worst wrestling thing ever related. But yeah, I would fire Punk and Bryan legitimately in the long run if I had to avoid what the hell that second point was. Got it? Good. Largest85, your next question here. What would yours and every other wrestling fan's reaction be if at WrestleMania 28, Rock didn't show up and Cena was in the ring waiting for him? Not under kayfabe, but 100% real. Well, I would then feel that WWE would have been pissed because Rock took the money and ran. He would be pissed that he's saying, oh, come on, what the hell is he doing out there? The guy in the back smoking joints? What the hell is he doing in there? And he would be so angry, he'd go back there and find him. only to realise he's not there. Knowing WWE would never work with The Rock again, and I would be genuinely shocked by this. I would genuinely say to myself, you are the ultimate sellout, Rock. You'd rather go back and do your movies, but instead of picking up the biggest paycheck in your life in one of the most anticipated matches of all time. Why would you miss that out? Because you love movies, you love acting, which is never your first art in the first place, because your dad would be really, really disappointed with you. Yeah, Soul Man Rocky Johnson would look at you and go, son, I'm very disappointed in you. What the hell? You are an integral part of this industry. You can't just walk out. Everyone else would, on the internet, rip him to shreds and call him the biggest liar in history. And we'd all hate him for it, wouldn't we? We would all just like to stick hot pokers in his eyes and basically fist fuck him until the cows come home, because he would become worse than Hogan. He would become worse than... Okay, I wouldn't say worse than Benoit on the hate scale, but he would be the closest to that than you could possibly have. Simple. And just as we pass the hour mark, here is another drink. Oh crap. Ooh, that didn't feel good. Anyway, MSDC Punk, your last question, I believe, and hopefully I can answer this one this time fully. If you could choose 2 WWE wrestlers who haven't been in the main event at WrestleMania and start a feud between them now, leading up to the main event match at WrestleMania 29, who would they be and what would the storyline be? Now this is a great question. Standard and the bar has now been set, because this is a challenge. Okay, main event at WrestleMania, so we can count The Miz out. Del Rio hasn't actually been in the main event, so we can count him out. We can actually use him. To be honest, many of these current guys have never been in the main event at WrestleMania. Sheamus, you could put him in a main event match at WrestleMania, will work out fine. Okay, there has to be 2 current guys, doesn't it? I don't know why, but there's one guy, I don't know why, but I just randomly had David Otunga in my head. But then again, I know he's probably going to get a push in the long run. Cody Rhodes is probably, I'm going to say Cody because he's obviously the one guy I think of. And then the other guy to be put in the main event scene would be some guy who's massive and something. I'm trying to find a guy who's a face. Zack Ryder. Okay? Zack Ryder. These 2 guys, of course, pretty popular on both sides of the spectrum in terms of being hated on one side, loved on the other. Okay, the storyline of these guys. Cody Rhodes is the guy who has basically been in the industry his entire life, and I would say, kind of like Randy Orton, is there because of his dad's influence, and they would say has had the silver spoon in his mouth. He is the guy who is a good-looking guy who is not like most other people, who would be able to say, I'm the whole package here. I'm good at spewing everything that you guys hate back at you. I have got in-ring work that people could die for. I have the looks that you guys in the audience would want and never could reach. I am the epitome of what wrestling is today. Zack Ryder would be able to say to him, look, I may not have had the silver spoon in my mouth, but I've used the people. Through the current social media, the people want to see me because I've reached out to them, given them what they want. I may not be the best at wrestling in the world, but I can give them something they can be happy with. And this would basically be the ethics of the wrestling industry, where you can be built up from nowhere, from anywhere, and literally become a star, to Cody Rhodes being manufactured from the inside up. And it would be a contrast of who is more faithful to wrestling. The guy, the crowd favourite, who has basically been made because of them, and the guy who is basically a great wrestler, but had to work through the industry within its own narrow workings in the background to make it there. And, well, sure, Cody was a great wrestler in his own right, but you know where I'm going at. They would basically be trading tirades, screwing each other over out of major opportunities. And this is from now, so this is the July pay-per-view. They'd probably cost each other Money in the Bank. At SummerSlam, they'd probably be involved in a tag match, trying to get someone who has their opinion to go at it. Cody then will win the WWE Championship at Night of Champions, perhaps, once he's managed to pin the WWE Champion on a Raw somewhere. Zack Ryder goes again saying, look, you can't do this. You can't put this guy there. This is stupid. I'm the guy who's popular with the fans. You should give me the chance. And he would keep going. He would keep trying to win title matches. But, of course, because Cody is the champion, he, from a distance, would be trying to screw him over and say, look, you aren't going to touch me, man. I'm sorry. I'm the champion. I'm out wrestling everybody that night. What are you going to do? Ryder, then our team, Survivor Series team, is the sole survivor. He then builds himself up and says, look, I managed to survive, okay, a 5-1 thrashing that would have come to me. I survived that. I'm just as good as you. TLC survives the TLC match to win the number 30 entry in the Royal Rumble. And I'm amazed no one's ever done that in TLC. To have that on the line, because that will build the Rumble up nicely way before it happens. And then Ryder wins the Rumble. Cody, narcissistic, selfish as he ever is, vain as he ever is basically spewing down that, just like anybody else, I'm about to reach the peak of my career. You can't make it because you're not like me. And Ryder will basically say, well, I'm not like you, but that doesn't mean I can't reach the pinnacle of my profession. I'm going to do everything I can to show you up and prove I am better than you and win that title. At the main event match, Zack Ryder finally overcomes Cody and wins the title, building a new star for the future. How'd you like them apples, MSDC Punk? How'd you like them? Good idea or not? That is a reason why I would say to Vince McMahon, could I be part of your creative team? That's why I say it, because who would have thought putting Cody and Ryder in a feud together? Not many. Not many at all. Not many at all. All works out pretty well, doesn't it? Next, Elizabeth, 1990, asked, has John Cena... First, I think this is a second question. I should have linked this up with the John Cena lot, actually. Has John Cena, a.k.a. in capitals, the Cancer, destroyed pro wrestling? Now, I will say this. He has not destroyed pro wrestling. He's just doing his job. A lot of people... The fact is, he's done something not a lot of wrestlers can say they do. Actually, I think only Triple H can really be hated as much as they're liked. Cena is loved and hated in equal shares. So think about it. He's done, like I say, he's done something not many other guys can say they've done. I feel because he hasn't destroyed wrestling, because people will obviously look at guys at the top of the business and say, this guy's at the top because he's at the top. Everything else down isn't very good because you don't like it. If you don't like Cena, you think most of the way down isn't very good, and you have a bad view on the company altogether. You then look at him as the face of wrestling because he's the head of the main company. You then look and say that wrestling is now shit because he is the guy who is the worldwide portrayal of it. He's not a good representational thing of it. But the fact of the matter is, Elizabeth, in my honest opinion, he has not destroyed pro wrestling. He's just another part of the puzzle. Because, in my opinion, even when wrestling loses prominence and goes back to being just indie feds, but it will do one day, I can almost surely guarantee that at one point in the next 100 years, wrestling will go in a meltdown and go back to just being the indie territories. And we will see that he's just a part of the big woven fabric of it. Everywhere there needs to be a face. Everywhere there needs to be a single-minded character who is the embodiment of that face. But it's just how it goes. Hulk Hogan was a single-minded character until he turned heel. He was that enigma. He was, to me and many others, the cancer of pro wrestling. So, the fact is, some people who probably would have said, oh, Bruno Sammartino holding the title for 10 years, not giving many people the chance, he's destroyed pro wrestling because no one else had the chance to whoop his ass. That is more of an embodiment. Even back then, some people would have thought that. You know? It's all part of how it works. I'm not sounding patronizing, but it's just how it is. He has not destroyed pro wrestling, no matter how many people like to point out that Cena has done. Because many would say The Rock, some would say The Rock would destroy pro wrestling, that he turned things from wrestling orientated to a promo circus, because his promo work sold more than his ring work ever could. Even I would say that. Next, Largest 85, I believe this is your last, yes it is, your last question. and I'm happy. I hope you like. Obviously, you disagreed with my WrestleMania 10 rating on my flashback, but did you enjoy the review? Hope you did. What if John Cena and Randy Orton were having a match on Raw or a pay-per-view, and then got really mad at each other, stopped the scripted match, and started to fight for real by throwing punches and not selling shit? Basically, really trying to hurt each other. I think it's also in this case, how would I react to this? Well, to be honest, I wouldn't be so surprised. Because as we all know, Cena and Orton, while their relationship has been repaired over the last couple of years, has never always been as clear as day. It's always been because Cena hated Orton back in the early 2000s. He hated him because of his attitude. And to be honest, so that attitude is still there, folks. And he would have punched his lights out. And I honestly think if any shade of that personality came back, and Orton was a jackass, I think he would have punched his lights out multiple times over. I could see this happening. I could see that happening if he does it again. And to be honest with you, my reaction would be, to be honest, I think a lot of people would get behind Cena if they knew that Orton's attitude was as shit as that. You know? Even I would get behind Cena in that front. Good. Punisher 249, and I must point out the U in Punisher is spelled with a W, so I don't want to. It's Punisher. 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 I just got it. See, sometimes I am a little slow in picking up those little things. Punisher 249. It was so simple. What if a fan jumped in the ring with a knife and stabbed John Cena in the neck, killing him? What would the fans and me do if I was live in the crowd? Okay, to put it this way, it's like the question I received last month about Cena shooting Vince McMahon in the head off script. It would follow the same guideline. I would be shocked, horrified, and sad that a very nice, very charitable man, and the embodiment of wrestling at a cultural scale today is gone. I'd be very shocked, and to be honest, it's like watching those videos back of 9/11 as it happened, and you see people just scared and running away and just crying their eyes out because they've experienced the tragedy in front of them. You know? It's something like that. You'd think that in wrestling, when you see a guy getting killed... Actually, I know the audience for Over the Edge 99 would have seen the Owen Hart incident. Of course, they had no idea what had happened until afterwards. You'd think that it would have been... Imagine if they did know what happened. If JR had broadcast to the world in the arena at that point that Owen Hart had died, you would hear the biggest outpouring of emotion known to man, and it would have been horrifying. And that would be a similar thing that would have happened here. Just put it out there. Real Spider-Man Noir fan, and this is your last question, but another fantasy John Cena scenario, which is funny. What would you do if you saw a fan meet John Cena and ask for an autograph, and that fan shot Cena in the face? Cena then survives the gunshot, gets up like nothing happened, and rips the fan's head off Mortal Kombat style. If you saw that happen in your street where I live, which is a big hill that goes up and down, how would I react to that? How would me, Cream Crazy, react to that? First, I would say, holy shit! Like that. I would be stunned to be like... I would probably run out of my house and go and help the kid, but also trying to wonder, what the fuck, Cena? What the hell? How could you possibly do that? And again, knowing his strength, he could rip someone's head off Mortal Kombat style. He really could. Honestly, here, people. It would be quite weird. Punisher 249. How would you and the crowd react if you saw a diva having a wardrobe malfunction, exposing her VJ? Now, I just censored that intentionally for any of you young people out there. Being safe for you guys. How would the crowd react? They go, ah! The males would. They'd probably cover up the young kids' eyes. And some of them would be going, yes! Me, I would not give a shit. I would cover my own eyes because I don't like that sight. you people may say to me right now, how could you be a man if you don't like the look of that? Well, I'm a different person from a lot of people, and as you people know, I find the divas for the most part mostly uninteresting on looks wise. I really couldn't give a shit what their forest looked like. Hope that answers your question. I would not give a shit. Simple. I would probably go, oh, tell me when it's over, somebody. Oh, God, why did that have to happen? Why? Simple. If it was exposed for a long period of time and she realised it and took advantage of it, I'd say, fuck it, you're milking a situation we wouldn't want to see. Nevertheless, Elizabeth, 1990. And this question, I was feeling, do I answer it or not? And I thought, okay, I will. Why does Largest 85 hate WWE so much? Now, if you've not noticed Largest 85's comments down there, and he's a big wrestling fan, and I understand that because we've had discussions about a lot of stuff on YouTube messaging to each other via the personal messages. And a lot of the comments he puts down there may make you say, oh, he's just a typical WWE hater, but he's been a WWE fan for quite some time. And I feel like a lot of people, he's one of those disillusioned many who remembers when they got into wrestling and they say, this is the best shit ever. And they loved what they grew up with. And they're at that point where I think he's one of those people who just doesn't like what WWE is doing. A lot of people are. In fact, actually, to be honest with you, I'm going to just do a bit of advertising here, everybody. If you're watching at 1 hour 16 into this, there's a video which I got recommended by SpinnerNet1. Of course, if you know SpinnerNet, of course you know SpinnerNet if you're subscribed as a wrestling fan on YouTube. He found a video from a guy called Slingblade98, who made a video to all wrestling fans, only we can save wrestling from itself, where he basically pointed out the blunt truth of what's wrong with WWE as a whole. And that embodies what Largest 85 hates, because he doesn't like the sports entertainment bullshit. He doesn't like the fact that it's promo-orientated. It's PG. It's not the same as what it used to be, as a wrestling-orientated product. He doesn't like that wrestling is different from what it used to be. And he is very negative about it. In fact, I rated WrestleMania 10 a very low rating. I'm not going to say what unless you want to go watch it by clicking the video tab up there. He said to me he completely disagrees with me and said that it's better than any pay-per-view WWE put out today. Now, because he's an extreme negative opinion about everything WWE puts out, he would have that opinion, because he is disillusioned. He's at a point where he's a wrestling fan, but he doesn't really know. He can say what he likes about something, but he has a lot which he can spew hatred at. And a lot of us wrestling fans are people who can spew out hate whenever we want to. I've spewed out my spare bit of hatred through this video. I think he's just bluntly stating why he's just, like I said, disillusionment of what he wants from the product is not being given to him. He's not liking it. He says that, I think in his idea, that when change happens, it has to be for the better, building on the foundations of what he likes. And if it isn't that, then he will get pissed and moan about it, which he does in a lot of his comments. So, yeah. I think that will answer your question in good stead, Elizabeth. And Largest, if I've offended you in any way or form, I apologise, because I'm just answering another person's question. Hope that answers it, though. I now have 2 questions remaining. Interesting. Punisher249, your last question here. And I think everybody would want to cringe and go, ugh, I don't want to see this, at this one. If Paris Hilton bought WWE and she was the new owner, how would the product be? Right. Let me put this into context for you. Do you remember when I made a little video, I think before, I can't remember which pay-per-view it was, I think it was either Extreme Rules or WrestleMania. I made it, and I said, point blank out there, that Vince McMahon is technically and clinically insane because he wanted the scriptwriter of See No Evil to make Kane's wang 9 foot long, and there's a comedic angle in it. That's pretty stupid. Paris Hilton, based on the partying attitude, her spoilt brattishness, and the lack of cognitive function in her brain as the heiress to the Hilton Empire, you would honestly think, what would she do? How would the product be? Celebrity filled, guttural trash. It would be the worst thing in the world. Now, that's based on a stereotype and what the media showcases to me about her. But if it's anything less, if it's anything that's at least... thing is, if she's a wrestling fan and wants better, that's good. But she isn't a wrestling fan. She wouldn't give a shit. If Mike Tyson was running WWE, he would know what to do because he's a loyal fan about wrestling in general. So you see my point. She would probably run this place to the ground. She would fill it with celebrities, the wrestlers wouldn't get a word in edgeways, they'd revolt, leave, and the product would die with her. She'd say, oh, I've bought everything. I must have a TV show about finding a best friend. I bought a wrestling company that's worth millions of dollars annually. But the fact is, we don't give a shit what your blonde, heavily dyed brain really gives a shit about. We don't care. We never cared about you when you went to prison and the news channels had to spend hours of our time screening that shit. Because you are not important. The wrestling product is important. And because you will probably demean it, we will want to riot outside Stamford, Connecticut, Titan Towers, on the internet, posting videos all over the place, and we would rip you to shreds. The product would be just complete shit. Ha! I'm now wishing I ended this Q&A on that small little tirade. But there is one other question. One other man who ended... well, the subject of this question ended last month's Q&A, and it's going to end this one. It's because I love ripping this man's head off. Last no water. Cancerous Mike Works' last question concerns one specific man called CreamCrazyWR. And if you didn't see the end of my last Q&A, go watch it. Go find the last question, and I believe somewhere between the last 1 hour 15 and 1 hour and a half, you'll be able to see what I mean when I completely rip this guy to shreds. I did. What would happen to CreamCrazyWR if he went to a WWE or any wrestling event, started talking shit to all wrestling fans, saying it's fake and gay, calling them low-life scum? How do you feel those fans would react? There are two scenarios. Actually, there are three scenarios I can embody. I can embody three different scenarios here. 1. WWE event. He probably wouldn't have his voice heard. He would probably rip his ticket up because he isn't being heard and run out of the building like a scaredy cat because we'd all probably look at him and go, what an idiot. Why did he pay money to go there? They wouldn't have the balls to do anything. The second is Progress Wrestling crowd. He would say, wrestling shit! And we would go, oh! And Jim Smallman, like the legend he is, would basically tell him to get the hell out, and if he didn't, we would all make sure he did. He probably would run scared, because actually at the Progress show there are a lot of guys there who would probably beat his head in, because there is an open bar there. There would be, at Progress, the guys watch, we only watch when a lot of the others not watch, not me, not Jim Smallman, not the other guy, would be pissed off their minds because there's an open bar. They would want to punch the guy, they would go do it. The other type of reaction is one that I don't think will ever happen again. And I will link it in the description because it's on the internet somewhere, and I bet a lot of people have seen it. When Eddie Guerrero died, CZW paid a 10-bell salute tribute to Eddie, which was very nice of them, because I don't know if Eddie wrestled in CZW, I think he might have done when he was battling his drug issues. But the fact is, during the 10-bell salute, I think the guy says, it's none of that, and just basically shouted out bullshit or something, interrupting on his own, interrupting the moment of silence, the 10-bell salute. Everybody, then not just the crowd, but the wrestlers, the ring announcer told the security to throw the guy out of the building. Now he would need to do something disrespectful on an even larger level than that to get himself thrown out in that manner. Because the fact is, we will either shrug it off that wrestling sucks, we will either shrug it off, but in an environment full of them, you can tell a lot of people would go, What the fuck are you bad-mouthing wrestling for? And we would go at him. It's simple. I think a lot of people would do that. Because we stand up for what we like, we stand up for what we believe in. That's how the human mind works. And he would be made to look like a complete and utter arsehole. I don't know why the Northern Ireland/Irish accent came in there, but fuck it, I can do what I want. And yeah, there it is, guys. Q&A done. 1 hour and 25 minutes, basically, I'm going to give that. These Q&As are still bloody long, but that's what you get when you give me loads of questions. Hope you guys enjoyed those questions. And remember, like I said at the start of the video, the process is open all over again. But you got 2 months to do that, because I'm going to be in Australia until mid-August. From the end of mid-July, from the end of July. So I won't be able to do a July Q&A. So why don't you send those questions now? And if you don't, you've got a long time to get those to me. So go ahead, message me on Facebook, Skype, anywhere, and get me those questions. In fact, if you don't know where to find me, the links will be down there in the description box. Remember, check out Slingblade 98's video, why don't you? It'll be down there. So yeah, go ahead and check that out, why don't you? Also, because I have to say it anyway, you like what you see, remember to click that like button down there, and also the subscribe button up there, because I appreciate every single bit of support you guys give me, because it makes me want to do these even more. Okay, all good? I have been Cream Crazy, you've been people watching. This has been my June Q&A. I will see you next week for the next wrestling rant, the 56th wrestling rant. I haven't done a wrestling rant proper in quite a while. And this is going to be my top 10 WWE wish list. Something that basically means I will state what I want changed with WWE today in its current form. How about that? Guys, I've had a fantastic weekend. I hope anyone who's watching the Italy-Spain Euro 2012 final, we all enjoy that match, and I hope that nothing bad happens to you all. Have a good week, guys. Cheers.